the Next.js, and we'll see how to create a custom visually editable content block, so what we call a brick. Most of this session will be live coding, except for the first 5-6 minutes when I will show some slides to introduce React Bricks. I am Matteo Frana, and I'm the co-founder and CTO of React Bricks. I started developing websites in 1996, so it means that I've been building web solutions for customers using many different technologies for 28 years. And by the way, this one is my first website from 1996 with the beautiful jumping frog. And well, as an agency, a digital agency, we primarily created web applications such as e-commerce systems, production management system, product configurators, and of course, also websites with a CMS. By the end of 2019, we wanted to transition away from using WordPress for websites. We were using WordPress as a headless CMS, but we couldn't find a solution that satisfied both us and our clients. And well, this is why during the first lockdown in Italy, we started creating an MVP. And that MVP today is a product which is being used by thousands of users worldwide and is powering the websites of corporations like Banco Mediolanum, a major Italian bank, Banque Postale in France, the Weather Channel, Deal, and many others. But well, the first question that we need to answer is why we couldn't find a good solution at the end of 2019. So to answer, we need to go back in time to 1996, when to create a website like this, you had to use something like this. So just HTML, and you just no JavaScript, no CSS. You just uploaded an HTML file via FTP. So everything was just code. So my first customers, when they wanted to update the content, they should just ask me to change the content. This is why from the early days, we always tried to have a sort of visual editing to empower users to edit the content themselves. And this happened with the front page, for example, then Dreamweaver, and then the CMSs, so like Joomla or WordPress. The problem is that anytime we empower the editors, they had the freedom to take design choices, which is something we don't want because we always end up with the red Comic Sans text over green background. And so we always went back to something like this, so gray forms with structured data. In this case, this is advanced custom fields of WordPress, but the same happens now. Today, on one side, we have the site builders, so Wix or Webflow, which are great for editors, but they are not suitable for a corporate website because you see with the Wix, for example, you need to choose a template, which means that you cannot convey your pixel perfect corporate image. Well, on the other side, with a product like Webflow, instead, the editors have the ability to change those CSS properties, and so they have the ability to compromise the design. So site builders on one side, and on the other side, we have the headless CMSs, which once again are just gray forms for the editors. So great for us, but not for the marketing team. So we recognized that this problem at the end of 2019, and we wanted to solve this problem. We saw that there was a gap in the market. And so we started asking what are the requirements to build something better? What are the needs of our customers? And we saw three main areas. The first is we need to convey the corporate brand. which means for developers, limitless design possibilities. So if you want to overcome the limits of Wix, and for the editors, no way to compromise the brand identity. So overcome the too high flexibility of Webflow. Then, of course, we need to save time, both for developers and the marketing team. And well, for developers to save time, we need to have some freedom of the editors. So they need to be autonomous in composing the pages so that anytime they need to add a new paragraph, they don't need to ask us to add a field to the headless CMS. Fetch that field, render that field. So on Huawei, no way to compromise the identity, but some freedom to compose the page to save time of developers' time. To save the marketing team time, we need something very easy to use, and you will see that Rubrix is really very easy to use. Then website performance, both from page speed point of view and SEO point of view, and seamless integration with existing system and APIs. Now let's focus just on the first 4 requirements, and we see the problem that we have now with the site builders and the headless CMSs, because of course, headless CMSs have limitless design possibilities. You can use any front end, any CSS framework, and users have no way to compromise the brand identity, but you don't have this freedom to create, to compose that you have in the site builders, and they're surely not easy to use for the marketing team. On the other side, we have the visual page builders, which are very easy to use. They have this freedom to compose, but as we saw with Wix, not limitless design possibilities, as we saw with Webflow, many ways to compromise the brand identity. And so, well, we thought, how can we solve this problem? And to solve this problem, we looked back at when we were children, and how did we build things when we were children? Well, we used Lego bricks. If you think with Lego bricks, you can build anything, but you cannot change the single Lego brick. So you cannot ruin the design of the single Lego brick. And so with this concept of Lego bricks of content, we solved the problem because there is no way to compromise the brand identity, and at the same time, the freedom to create, the freedom to use these blocks to compose the page. And since we have the power of code, we also have limitless design possibilities, because we are not buying a pre-made Lego set, but we are creating our own Lego set, implementing our corporate image, as we will see today. And we can also delegate some freedom to the users. So it's like having a Lego brick with a button that the user can click to change the color of the brick, for example. How cool would it have been when we were children? With the React components, of course, we have the props, so we can choose to have some sidebar control that change the props of our components, as we will see. And then easy to use. Rubrix is very easy to use because it has an inline through visual editing layer. For the other requirements, we have an advanced SEO module, great performance because you can use any modern technology like Remix or Next, and also Next with the new app router, and so with React server components, and seamless integration with any external APIs. But well, enough talking, let's see how it works. So let me open the CLI. So everything starts with a CLI command. So npx create React bricks app at latest. So we will create a new Rubrix project. The CLI asks if we have an account. Yes, we have an account. Let's log in with this account. Okay, now we can create a new app or choose an existing app. In this case, let's create a new app. So workshop, we can say 2024. Okay. Project name the same, folder name the same. We choose a website and blog with Tailwind in this case, and we choose Next.js. Let's use the new one with the app router. Okay, load some default content, yes. So now React will clone the starter project and create the app on the APIs and configure the environment variable on the project, install all the dependency, set up Git, and then do some API call to create some default content for this project. And it should be good to go in a few seconds. Okay, here we are. So we can enter the directory 2024 5. Okay, let's open our VS Code in this folder. And let's start the project. Okay, so let's see what we have at localhost port 3000. Okay, this is the project that has been created with Tailwind and Next.js. And we can click to edit the content and the login. So this is the admin interface that our editors will use to edit the content. We have some pre-made, some preloaded pages as we ask the CLI to create some default content. And here our users will be able to directly write. So welcome to React Bricks workshop. You see that it's really very, very easy. We can also apply styles, in this case, the highlight. And you see here we can apply, for example, bold. I can write over the buttons. And then there are the sidebar properties to change some property of the component. In this case, I can change, for example, the background color with all of these colors. If I go to this other brick, you see the colors are more limited because these are defined by the single brick. I can choose to have this gray scale for the logos. In this brick, I can choose the media side, for example. For images, React manages images. It has a complete media library. We can upload from a Splash or from the file system, from URL. And React takes care of the image optimization and serving from a global CDN. And we have also the concept of bricks inside of bricks for things like a gallery where we need to repeat bricks inside of bricks. But now let's immediately create our a brick, so a custom component. We want to create our own theme. Suppose we are Acme company, so we want to create our theme with our content blocks. So I show you that when you click the plus button here to add a new brick, you have all the pre-made content blocks because we chose a project with Tailwind, so we have some default content block. But then you have these all themes. We have the Rubrics UI with the default content blocks, and then this default with some other content blocks. We want to create another theme for our company, so the Acme theme. Let's do it immediately. So let's go to the editor. And so you see here we have the Next.js project with the app router, so with the app folder where there are the front-end pages and the admin folder where the admin lives. And then there is the React Bricks folder with the React Bricks configuration and all the bricks, the React Bricks UI bricks, so the pre-made bricks that we will eventually throw away because we want to create our own design system. And then there is this custom, and we want to create a new one. So let's create a folder, let's say Acme. Sorry, Acme. And in this folder, let's create a new brick. So let's suppose that we want to create a text image brick. We create a folder, and inside of this folder, we create a file with the TypeScript, so text image.tsx. And let's start creating our brick. First of all, we will import the types from React Bricks. In this case, React Bricks RSC because we are using the server components. And then we can create our component. So let's say const text image, which is of type brick. And this is a React component. So let's return something. So let's return an h1 hello world. And let's export default. Of course, you can define the component as you want. Export default text image. Okay. Now, let's say that this is, let's apply a style so that it's more visible. So, for example, text free Excel. I'm using Tailwind, but Rubrix works with any CSS. So it's CSS agnostic. It works also with CSS in JS. So let's add some classes. Okay, we have our H1, but we have a problem because the text image needs is a brick, and the brick is a functional component. Sorry, let me minimize this Zoom interface, which is okay. So a brick is a functional component with, you see, a schema property. So we need to add this schema for this to be a brick. So text image dot schema equals, and we need to add a name for this brick. So let's say workshop text image and a label. So text image. Okay, now you see we don't have any TypeScript error anymore. This is a brick. So let's add this brick to our bricks. We go to the index and let's create a new theme. So I create a new theme, which is Acme. Categories are a way to organize bricks in headers, content, call to actions, etc. Let's just create one category, which is content. And here we put our text image. So the text image from the Acme folder. Great. So now on our editor, let's create, let me create a new page so that we use to test our brick. So test. Okay, add your first block. And here we can choose now the Acme theme. So we have this theme that has just the text image component. So let me add this text image. Hello world. Okay, now I cannot edit anything because I'm still not using the React Bricks visual components. So let's fix this. First of all, let me add a bit of space around this H1. So let me import this section from Rubrix UI and the container from Rubrix UI so that we have some spacing around. Okay, here we are. And then we want to have this text editable. So first of all, we add an interface for our component. We are using TypeScript, so we create an interface which is text image props. And here we want to have a text. Let's say that it is the title. And the title is of type text value. So here we get our title. Now it is so sorry, we need to, of course, add the interface here. Okay, and so you need that. You see that now we have the autocomplete for the title. And now we want to create a editable text. To do this, we import from Rubrix also the text component. And so we do text. A text as a prop name, which is title. And then it has a value, which is our title. And so let's do just this for now. You see that here we have this type a text and we can write. So we have already an editable text. By default, a text just renders a span tag. But now we want to render our H1. So what we do is render block. So we get our children and we render our H1 tag. Copy and paste. Of course, we don't want always hello world, but we want to use our children. And now we see that, okay, we have this type of text, and when we write, we are creating our H1 tag with the proper classes applied. If we don't want this type of text, this is a title, so let's add a placeholder, which is type title. Okay, so you see we have type a title now. And what we can do also is add some default value. When you add this brick, we want some default text. So we can say get default props. This is a function that returns an object. So an object with a title, and the title can be thick as a brick. I don't know if you know the Jethro Tull. This is a song by Jethro Tull. And so let's see if this works. So let me reload this page and add a new brick, text image. Okay, here we are. We have a default text, which is this one. And if we delete, we have our type, a type. Perfect. But we wanted a text image, remember? So we want to add an image too. And to add an image, let's add a new property to our interface, which is image, it's much fancy. And let's say that it is of types image source, and we get the image here, and we need to render an image component of React Bricks. To do this, first of all, let's create a div just to create two columns. So we can create a div which is a grid from the LG point. We want two columns, so grid calls two and some gap between the columns. And so inside of this grid, we'll have two divs. One for the text, one for the image. The text will be here. And here we can add our image component. So image, which comes from React Bricks RSC. Okay, an image has a prop name, which is image. And we need to pass the source, which is our image. Perfect. Now, what is missing? The alternate text. So let's provide a default alternate text image, but it will be our editor that when they upload the image, they can provide an alternate text, but as a fallback, we have this one. So for an image, we can also specify the max width. So let's say 800. This is used by the Rubrik servers. They will create a max version, which is 2 times this number for the retina displays. And so let's see what happens now. Okay, you see we have this image here, and I can click and I can select an image from the library, from Unsplash. Let's select from Unsplash, for example, mountains. Okay, I can add this image, save and select, and you see I can crop the image as I want, I can rotate, I can flip, etc. So save. If I want our user to have a fixed aspect ratio, I can also do it. So let me remove the image, 1 second. And let's say that we want a fixed aspect ratio. So aspect ratio, let's say 16/9 ratio. Okay, and now you see that we have this aspect ratio. If I click and I select an image, so let me select another image, mountains. Okay, this one, save and select. And now you see that I'm forced to crop, but with the fixed aspect ratio. So let me save. Okay, perfect. So we have our brick where the user can add an image, they can add a title. Let's add also a rich text below this title. So now we know how we need to proceed. We add a description. The type of the description will be, again, text value. So we get our description. So you see, Rubrics also gives you a very easy to follow method. And so below this text, we want to add our rich text. So rich text from Rubrics RSC. A rich text is similar to a text. So we have a prop name, which is description, and we have a value, which is our description. And then we need to provide a render block. Render block, which is just a function component, it's just a render function. So children, and in this case, we want to render a simple paragraph. Let's close this rich text here. Okay, and let's add just the class name of text LG and text gray 600. Maybe we can say that dark mode the text is white. Okay, perfect. So now we have a rich text. We want to also provide a default for these. So let's say description. Before there were the jet rotar. Now let's do something from Pink Floyd. So another brick in the wall. Okay. So now let me add a new brick. So reload page. Add the text image, and here we are. We have our title and our description. The unique thing is that this rich text is not very rich because we cannot add any rich text property at the moment because we need to define which rich text properties we want to enable. So allowed features, and this is an array of all the features that we want to enable. So rich text feature dot, let's say, for example, bold, or let's add, if you want, the italic. And you see, if I go here, now we can add bold, we can add italic. By default, rubrics will render the default B tag, the default I tag. But if we want, we can replace this, we can override this. So we can say render bold, and it's, as always, just a render function. So children, and we can create our B tag with the children, but we can apply a class so that it is more visible. For example, text pink 500. Okay, you see that now the bold applies also this class. So you can define which rich text feature we want to enable and how to render them. Let's add also, for example, I show you something which is interesting, the link. We want our user to also use the link. In this case, you know, the link, an anchor tag in Tailwind has no visual hint that it is a link. So we need to provide a random link. And in this case, we take children as usual. We want to use the link from React bricks. So I show you why. Here we have the children. Well, a link needs an href. So let me also take href and the target and the rel from here. The href, the target, and the rel. Okay, here we are. And we wanted to make it more visible. So let's add the class name also. Text sky, see, that's 500. And on over, let's make it text sky 700 with some transition of the color. Okay, here we are. So this is next with the app folder sometimes. Okay, so now you see we can also apply a link. So let's have a link to React Bricks, open a new window, apply. And why is it important to use the React Bricks link? Because the React Bricks link will use the Next.js link in this case when we have a local path. It will render an anchor if we provide instead an HTTPS external path. But the most important thing is that here I can write without triggering the link, while when I go to the preview, so as it will be in the front end, it will be a real link, but it's very handy because it's easy to write over this link. Okay, so here we are. We created our brick, and so let's see how we can delegate some freedom to the user. So let's say that the user can choose the image side. The image could be on the right or the left. It's very easy. We can add a new property, which is image side, which can be in TypeScript. In this case, we use a union, so left or right. And we get our image side. And we can conditionally render based on this image side. So what I'd like to do is add install npm install CLSX. That is what I usually use to conditionally render. And uh, so now we can import CLSX from CLSX. And what we can do is say that this div, so the div that is on the left with the texts, we can apply a class name. So we use CLSX, and we apply a class name which is when the side is left, we want to invert the order. So we can say order last when our image side is equal to left. Okay, in this way we will invert the two columns. But how can we set this image side? This is where we want to use sidebar controls. So side edit props. This is the array of controls that we will have on the right. So we create a new control. The control has a name. So image side. It has a label. Say image side, and it has a type, the type of control. So the type of control, in this case, we want a select type. And for the select type, we can provide the select options. Oh, here I used the the snippet of VS Code, so you see that it is auto completed because I clicked the tab. So then I show you this handy plugin of VS Code. So select options as a display, so we can choose to display them as select or as radio. And then we have the options, which are just value objects with value and label. So we can have value left, label left, and in the same way, value right, label right. So what we are doing here is we create a control. The control will return our prop to this. We will set this prop on our component, and then we are using this prop to conditionally render. Let's see if this works. So, let me provide also a default for the side. Since we are there, we can see that the image side by default is left, right, as we have it now. So let me hold them. So you see that now we have this image side. For this brick, we don't have a default because we added it before we set the default. So if I add a new block of type text image, you see that you have the default right. And if I click, we can switch the image side. Of course, it works also on this. Simply, we didn't have the default. Okay, so now, I want to show you one thing. When we add the new bricks from the React Bricks UI theme, you see that we have this beautiful image. It's true that when you have the preview on the page, but you have also this beautiful image here. While for our bricks of Acme, so for our text image brick, we don't have the preview image. Let's fix this. So let's create a preview image. To do this, we can go to the playground. In the playground, we have our components. So for the activity, the text image. Let's select an image. We can select from the library this time. So let's reuse this image here. Okay, let's add some more text. Okay, and now let's take a screenshot. So get component screenshot. I click, and now in my clipboard, I have a URL that I can add here. So image, preview image URL, I can add this URL. And let's see what happens. So I go back to the editor. And now I want to, when I add a new brick, you see that we have this image. Okay, when I click, I will not get exactly this because by default, I didn't provide a default for the image. I don't recommend usually to add a default for the image, but you will see how the brick will be when you also add an image. A hint, I prefer not to have the preview, to bind the preview image to this app, because this is a link from the assets of this app. What I usually do is I download this image. So I save it in my download folder, and then I copy it in the okay, I copy it into my folder, text image folder. I rename it preview, and then here I can import the image. So import img preview from preview, so that I can set the preview image to img preview dot src. In this way, this brick can be moved also to another project. It is self-contained. It has its preview image in the folder. So I think that it's a better way to manage it. So now another thing that I'd like to show you is how we can have a brick repeated inside of another brick. So we have this. Sorry, I have this Zoom interface that is interfering. So we have this brick here with a title and a description and an image. And I would like to add also a text. Sorry, to also add a button, a call to action. So this button could be another brick that we can use inside other bricks, and that can be repeated inside of this brick. So let's create another brick, which is the button, and then we will use that brick inside of this other brick. So let's create another folder, which is button. Inside of this folder, I create a new file, which is button.tsx. And this time I would like to show you that we can start from an existing component. So here I have this React component. This is not a brick, it's a React component that I have in my design system. I want to reuse this and turn this into a brick. So you see we have these props, the path, the type that can be primary or secondary, and then I render the children. First of all, we need to change the type. It's not React functional component, but as we did for the other brick, we import the types from React bricks RSC. And so the type of this button is types.brick. Okay, we have the error because we don't have the schema. As remember that a brick always need a schema. For these children here, we want to render a text, so it should be, I could write over the button. So it's not children, but let's say that this is button text. And button text is of type text value. So here we have the button text. And to make it editable, remember, we need a text component from React bricks. And so we can just say text. Text has a prop name, which is button text. A value, which is our button text. And we cannot provide, we can also don't provide render function. By default, we have a standard span. And in this case, a span is more than sufficient for what we need for this button. The styling is from the outside link. Oh, by the way, this link is not the next link, but we want to replace it with the link from React bricks. So link this one. Okay. So now what we want to do is, first of all, we need to provide the schema for this button. So button.schema, and the schema is just an object with a name, let's say workshop button, and the label. The label is button. Okay, now this is a valid brick, and we can add it to our bricks. So let's go to the index and let's add our button from Acme button. Perfect. So if we look at this button, we are missing something at the moment because we have this editable text, but you see we have two props, the path and the type. How can we provide this path and the type? Using the sidebar controls. So let's immediately add our side edit props, which is an array of our controls. And so the first one has name path. And the path with a label which is path, and the type is a simple text. So the type of this control is types dot side edit prop type dot text. It's a simple text. For the path, for the type of button instead, so for the type, let's say button type, we need a select, like for the image side of the text image, we need a select, and so we need the select options. Select options is an object with a display, and we want to display these as we can use a select or a radio. I think since we have just two props, two values, it's better to use a radio. And then we have the options, which remember is an array of objects, each with value and the label value. In this case can be primary and the label primary. And then let's add also secondary. So we have two controls. The controls map to the props, and the props are used to conditionally render. You see here, type primary, and the path is passed to the link, which is now a link of React bricks. Let's see if this now works as a brick. So let's go to our editor. Let me refresh. And now when I click plus, you see we have two bricks. We have the text image and we have the button. Oh, we didn't provide a default for the text and the type. So let's fix it. That is, it's better. So let's add also the default props. So get default props. It's a function which returns an object with the props, and our props are so the type that by default can be primary, and for the button text we can use, let's be classic, submit. Okay, and so now let's redo what we were doing before. So I add a button, and here we are. So we have this button. I can write here, so we can say learn more, because we have the text inside the button. And then we have this primary or secondary, which is changing the style. And then we have the path, so we can set, let's say, about us. And when you preview, you see that this button is, okay, now you see that it's going to about us. So we have our button, we want to add our button to our text image component. This is very easy to do. We need to add a new property, so let's say buttons, and these buttons is of type repeater item, an array of repeater items. So we get our buttons, and what we need to use is a new visual component of React Bricks, which is the repeater. So we have the repeater because we want to repeat multiple buttons here. The repeater has a prop name as usual, which is buttons, of course, and it has the items, which are our buttons, and then we are good to go. The unique thing is that how can this repeater know which brick it needs to repeat? We need to tell it what we want to repeat in that repeater. So how can we do it? With the repeater items. So we have repeater items, which is an array of everything that can be repeated inside of this brick. And in this case, we have a name which matches the one on the repeater, so buttons. And we need to tell which item type we want to repeat in this. We can also repeat multiple things inside of a repeater, but let's make it easy. The item type is our button, so WS button, and we are good to go. Let's test it. So let me reload the page. And now you see that we have something new here. We have add new button. If I click, we get a button with its default content. I can click again. Okay, maybe we don't want exactly this. So let's add some spacing between the buttons, and let's limit our editors, because the marketing team should not add more than 2 buttons, for example. So let's do this. When we have our repeater, what we can do is we could add a flex outside the repeater, but it's great for the repeater to use the render wrapper, because this will be rendered only if there is at least one item. Otherwise, it will not be repeated. And so we get the items and we can return our wrapper, which can be a div, for example, with a class name, which is a margin top that we want to apply only if there is at least one item. So a margin top, we can add a flex, let's say flex wrap, so if we want to have multiple buttons, they wrap, and with some gap between them. Okay, so we have our div. Let's close it, and inside, let's render the items. Okay. So now we have some spacing, and if we want max 2 buttons, we can just say max 2. Okay, let's see what happens now. So let me reload. I didn't save, so let me reload, and we go back with no buttons, and now 1 button, 2 buttons, and we don't have anymore the other button interface because we can add the max 2. Then this one can be get started, and this one can be learn more and of type secondary. And so here we have our complete brick with the repeated items inside, and with a rich text, with an image. And I don't want the user to be able to add the button anymore. This button, it should be only added inside of this brick. This is very easy. In the button, I can just say hide from add menu. So this is not meant to be a brick by himself, but just be repeated. So that now, let me reload. Let's remove this one. We don't want it. If I click plus, now I have just the text image. In the text image, I can add the buttons. And so here we are. So in this first level course, we cover many things. And I think that now we can see if there are questions.
Hi, Matteo. There's a few questions that have been typed into the chat. So just everybody, if you have a question, you can please type it into chat. I guess we could also take you off mute if you'd like to ask your question directly. But why don't you handle the first couple there, Matteo, and give folks a moment to type in their notes or raise their hand. Thank you.
Okay. The jumping frog, yes, it's great. Do you have customers using React Bricks to create landing pages versus websites? Yes, of course. React Bricks is great for landing pages, blogs, and websites. A recurrent pattern that we saw is customers starting using React Bricks for the blog. Maybe they leave the website as it is. Maybe they have a Next.js website, they start using it for the blog, or maybe some landing pages, then they see how well it works, and then they adopt it for the whole website, for the whole website. Bricks creation looks good. We want to reuse bricks across projects. How is this done? Well, bricks are React components. So to reuse them across projects, essentially, you have a couple of ways. You can, for example, export your bricks in a package, so an npm package or a private package manager. And so you can import your bricks inside the project, or you can use a monorepo. So you can have, for example, a monorepo with turbo repo with the bricks and the multiple projects that are using those bricks. So then how do your customers handle SEO? Yes, for the SEO, we have a module which you find here on the page. So we have SEO, and so you see that you can set the meta. You have the SERP preview here, and then you have Open Graph. You can upload the images and they're cropped with the right dimension for the Open Graph, Twitter cards. And okay, now we don't have the full implementation of schema.org because we are on a free plan. Now I will ask Dario to upgrade our plan so that I can show you the complete schema.org implementation for advanced SEO. And meanwhile, let me proceed with the questions. So how can I localize pages? So I can localize pages. Okay, I show you very, very quickly, then we'll go to the question. So to localize pages, I need to have at least 2 languages. So in the languages, let me add the Italian language, okay? Save. Now, if I go back to the editor, reload. Okay, now you see that we have English and Italian. Italian with a warning because we don't have an Italian translation. Want to create the Italian translation? Yes, create translation. Now the content is copied from the default language, which is English. And now here we can translate into Italian and we can change whatever we want. So this could be, for example, a secondary button if we want for the Italian market. So it's very, very easy to translate. You're adding blocks from top to bottom. Is it possible to add blocks left to right in columns? For example, free call layout with switchable content blocks. Well, to do this, the best way is to have a brick which has the 3 columns layout and inside repeat the bricks using a repeater. So, for example, I show you. If I add a brick from the, let's say, all themes, for example, in this case, okay, you see we have these bricks which are repeated, and we have on the main brick 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, so we can decide the number of columns, and they are repeated using a repeater. So you see that add a new feature, so I can add a new feature. If you want to be able to add multiple bricks type inside of a repeater, you can do it. Instead of item type, you can provide a types array. So you can decide that you may also repeat in your 2-column wrapper any bricks in your design system so that it works as a wrapper, a 2-column wrapper. So you can do it. Okay, I think we can go back to the SEO because Dario upgraded our plan so that we can go to the page and on SEO, we go to schema.org and you see that we can select a schema. We implemented the full schema.org, so you can go to FAQ, add an FAQ. We can go to product, go to event, for example. We have everything. So attendance mode is online, stream URL, offline, the venue. We can add our tickets. We have anything, person, recipe with all the values for the recipe. So this makes very easy for the marketing team, even if they are not SEO expert, to add all the metadata, the semantic data that improves the search engine optimization. Okay, questions? No. I think that I answered them all. Okay. So any other questions? Maybe feel free to also speak with a mic.
Okay. I
The
think
other
that's
question, there are other questions. I don't, I cannot, for our team, how do you manage multiple users building apps? Oh, this is a great question. Sorry, I will answer also this one. How do you manage multiple user building apps? This is interesting because if you have a marketing team of 5 people, they could write the content at the same time. And of course, we want to avoid a person overriding the other what other people are doing. So we have a collaboration mechanism. And so you see, now I am the only one logged in this app, so I cannot show it how it works really well. But what I can show you is that here. Okay, you see that there is my avatar. You will see the avatar for all the people who are logged in. And you will also see the avatar of the people who are riding on this page. So if there is more than one person, you will see the avatar of all the person on the page. The first one that starts editing the content will lock the page. So we don't have an interleaved real-time editing, collaborative editing, but we have a pessimistic lock system. The first person that starts editing locks the page. And when I save or I go to another page without saving, I will release the lock. And the other user can always, they have a button. If they enter a page which is locked, they see this page is locked by Matteo, and they have a button force unlock so that they can force the unlock and take control. And if they need to urgently publish something, they can do it. Of course, the other user will lose their changes. But this is great for a corporate use case because you can see who did what. We have a complete versioning of content. So we have the change history where you can see every change, the user that did the change, and you can see the diff of what the content was before and after. So with this blocking mechanism, you can track the responsibilities very clearly of who did what instead of the interleaved editing. We see that for corporate and enterprise use case, this locking mechanism is what works best. Okay.
Matteo, that takes us right to the top of the hour. I think we can wrap it up.
Okay, we can wrap it up. And we will also select a person, one of the participants to the workshop, and we will give a discount code to upgrade Reabricks to a basic plan with a discount. So an email will follow with this coupon code and the name of the winner.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Matteo. And wrapping things up, roughly in the next 24 hours, we will send out the recording. But please feel free to ask any additional questions that you might have between now and then. As well, if you would like to learn more about React Bricks and explore a deeper discussion, we're happy to organize individual presentations to discuss the full capabilities of React Bricks and how this can specifically relate to your environment and the type of work that you're doing. But we thank you all for your time today. Have an enjoyable rest of day or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you again for your attendance.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye. Bye-bye.